So you can just respond using the chat. So if you have Excel installed on the system already, you can just put a thumbs up.
Sorry, Peculiar, sorry for cutting you. Can you put it on slideshow? Just so it's easier to capture.
If you don't have Excel installed, put the thumbs down sign, thumbs down emoji. So I'll take it that we all have Excel installed. So now
Peculiar, please make your
I'm sure
make your
everybody-
slideshow so it can be captured. Do you know how to make slideshow?
Hello?
Dami, can you help him, please, if there's a way?
Yeah,
Who is that?
probably I will just share my screen if it's possible. I'll just do that. Or you can just go to slideshow right there up and share your screen. And put it in slideshare beside animation. Peculiar, confirm you can hear me, please.
Uche, you've still not been able to install. Have you tried installing the
Peculiar, can
Microsoft
you hear
365?
us? Peculiar, can you hear us?
I'm not sure he's hearing anyone. Hi, Peculiar.
So now,
I'm not sure he's hearing anyone.
so now, I know most of us here should be.
Hello, Peculiar. If you are speaking, we cannot hear what you're saying.
Hi, Dami, can you hear me, please? Can you hear me, Dami?
Yes, I can hear you.
All right. Just take on rounding up what you intend to round up before Peculiar, just so that we do not waste time.
I can just start the Excel class as well. So why?
Okay. So
I'll just connect
I
with
just
my laptop. Hold on, and
yeah,
I'll
please.
just start the Excel class.
Apologies, everyone,
I think
for
it's having some glitch on his network.
yeah. So you can kick him out just because the back and forth will affect your own screen sharing. So you can sort of like kick him out of the meeting, and then you just take it. Mm.
Okay.
Hello?
Just 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 give me about a minute to join with my laptop, please.
No, I think it's network. I'm sharing my screen currently.
Hi, Oluwatosin. Could you make me host, so that I can help?
Peculiar, what we are trying to say is, Mr. Toby, you are currently host, and Oluwadamilola is also host. Peculiar, can you put your slide on slideshow? You are showing us things we're not supposed to see. We're just supposed to be concentrating on the main content. That's what we have been trying to tell you since. If you can put it on slideshow, so it's only one content we're seeing at a time.
Don't worry. Dami will take it. She will take it. No worries.
Okay.
Just give me a few minutes to join from my laptop. Confirm you cannot hear me, please. I'm sorry.
We can hear you loud and clear.
Yes. Just one minute. I think I still need to log out from my other Zoom because it's still showing me twice.
You're muted. You're muted.
Hi everyone. Good afternoon, good evening, good morning, from wherever you're joining us from. We are really sorry about the old glitch. That's a terrible network problem. So before we go ahead, I'd like to tell you about the drive that we have all our folders in. I shared it on the WhatsApp group. I don't know if you all got that. If you have them, and inside we have the modules where all the topics for every week is contained. We're going to today's class. We'll be sharing the folders before every class, so everyone can be able to follow up with it. Okay, so I'll be sharing my screen now. Miss Oluwatosin, confirm you can see my screen.
No, I can't.
Okay. Get to share that.
Okay, it's coming on now. I'm sure we'll see it soon.
Okay. Can you see it now?
It's good. You can.
Okay.
I can see it.
Yeah, because I opened it directly from the drive, but yeah, so it's good. So today we'll be going deeper into maritime data cleaning and analysis in Excel. Apparently, if you don't clean your Excel or you don't clean your data, it's going to be kind of messy. So we need like a data for this course for us to be able to understand data cleaning and analysis in Excel. So what do we understand by Microsoft Excel? It's actually far beyond a simple grid or lines that we see. And I feel like most of us have been working with Excel in our organizations. Like we've seen Excel, we've input some data in our Excel, we've opened documents in Excel. We have some what-if scenarios, model everything from voyage fuel consumption to complex but late time calculations. And key strength is universal accessibility across global fleet offices from Singapore to Lagos, making it the industry standard for data exchange. So because we really don't have time, I don't want something that happened last week to happen. So we just like brush through over the PowerPoints that we have. So we have new reports dealing with AIS data, bunker logs, and some messy reality. So why do we have Excel? Why are we taking Excel in maritime so important? We have 90% of fleet managers, they use Excel daily. And about 1.04 millions raw capacity for AIS logs. 24/7 available offline at sea. You go to Maritime, you go to AIS Global, you see everything that is happening at sea, like the VTS for vessel at sea, being uploaded online, and everything is always in either XLS or CSV. That's Excel. So Excel remains the bridge between high frequency ship sensors and strategic boardroom decisions. So I'll just leave you to read through all this so we don't have to waste enough time. So I'll go to the ribbon, directly to ribbon. Okay, let me go to this Zoom first and see that everyone is active because I don't know why I'm not seeing the class. Okay, so we have everyone here present. We have about 14 participants. Do we confirm that everyone have their software downloaded and you've gotten all the data we sent? If you go to the drive that I shared on the WhatsApp, you see Maritime data sources. So we have some data, like raw data there that is for Maritime specifically. Confirm you have all that. Okay, I'm not seeing response from anyone.
I think Uche Uche, have you been able to figure it out? Hi, Uche. I saw in the group that you had issues. Were you able to figure it out? Did you find a way? Okay.
Okay, you said no, I haven't. So what exactly is the problem you are facing, if I may know? Because I want everyone to be able to open their software and follow up with the class. Okay, we try again tonight. Okay, so probably you can go through the class again and be able to figure out that. So I think he's the only one having some glitch with. Trying to go back to my screen. Where do I have that? Okay. So we have the ribbon and control center. And I want to believe that most people knows about this already, like the home tab, essential for formatting data, the dates, and managing cell styles. You can see the home tabs right here. You can see my screen. You can see the home tabs right all over up there. So those are the essential tools that you need for formatting your dates and managing your cell types, the type of cell you want to use. We also have a data tab, the art of analysis, where we have the remove duplicates and Power Query Live. We'll be going to formulas tab as well, access the library of logical and lookup functions. So we'll be talking about lookup functions and talking about our libraries. So for the navigation, finding the vessel, we have the name box. So they instantly jump to a specific data range, such as voyage logs, their bunker prices, without endless scrolling. Like you can be able to search. You also have select all, like Control A crucial first step before applying global cleaning rules to a 5,000 row AIS data set. So once you just click on your Control plus A, you can be able to select all your rows. Either it's 5,000 and above or below that. You can select all the rows in your Excel. Jump to end. So if you have Control plus arrow keys, if you press on your Control plus you have some arrow keys, the up and the down arrow keys, it allows you to find the bottom of the logs to check for recent data gaps. That's if you are searching for a particular numbers or you're going to the end of your Excel. Somebody says something. Okay. Can you mute, please? Let's see if I can mute him.
I've muted him.
Okay, thank you. Sorry about that. So we have a real-time aggregates. Highlight any range of fuel logs and you can instantly see the average. You can see the counts, some in the bottom right status bar without writing a single formula. We'll be doing all this practically. And we also have quick access toolbar. All these are very important in Excel. Like they're going to be very useful for you when we start dealing with the real data. And on the Excel, we're going to be building some dashboards before we move into SQL. So you also have trim. You can remove leading and trailing spaces like apapa becomes apapa. I don't know if you see the difference in the two apapa there. I think you should be able to see my cursor there. So you see this apapa here, there's a space before the apapa, and here is the corrections. So there's a vital for lookup success. The trim is used for vital, like is used for lookup in Excel. So what does trim does? Proper vessel name cell. That. Then you go to proper, capitalizes the first letter of each word. MV Ocean star, it becomes MV Ocean star. That's what proper text, that's what it does. And if you're talking about the enrichment with X lookup, you can use your X lookup to turn raw port codes into descriptive regional information. For example, you have NGAPP, that means Nigeria Apapa. The lookup range is Lagos, Nigeria, and the result is Apapa Terminal. Same as NLRTM, which is Rotterdam NL, which is Europort, and Singapore, Jurong Island. So this is where X lookup is vital. I just want to brush over it because we'll be practicalizing that. Calculating port state duration, standard subtraction works, but dated if, using the word dated if provides granular control for management or reporting. So for example, arrival, departure, D, and days. So D for total days at birth. Sorry about the background noise. And M for monthly trend analysis, and we have Y for age of vessel component. So we also use the word if logic and also IFS logic. Those two things, so I need you to keep in mind. So how do you identify a dirty data? How do you identify a dirty data? You have a physics outliers. They have bulk carriers reporting 45 knot speed, for example, and there's typo errors, draft entries of 115 meters instead of 11.5. That can be an error from the entry into the Excel. And you also have negative values. Fuel consumption records below 0. Or ghost ships, arrivals without corresponding departures. All these are like can make your Excel, can make your data to be dirty. And before you build any dashboards, you must ensure that you clean your data. So cleanup requires a maritime mindset. Does this number make physical sense? And there was a question I was asking one of my students back then that, for example, you have someone entering some numbers into the Excel, and in Maritime we use either for 6 p.m. in the evening you use 1800, right? So instead of entering 1800, you enter 800, and that 800 already means AM. Whereas the action, this is supposed to be 1800, which is, sorry, the action is supposed to be 1800, and you're entering 8. That means supposed to be 6 p.m., whereas you're entering 8 a.m. So if you are building your dashboard, it means 8 a.m. is going to show on your dashboard. It's going to contradict the entry time of the vessel, of the actual time that the vessel entered. And that is going to mean a whole lot to what you're building. So ability for you to be able to confirm your data first and ensure that it's well cleaned will give you an accurate analytics or accurate insights. So we have arrival versus departure. For example, in maritime data sets, events are rows. Analysis requires turning them into columns. For example, arrival is start of stay and departure is end of stay. So you have to convert all rows into columns for event anchors. And the challenge is linking row number 1, which is arrival, with row number 2, which is the departure. So if an arrival has no departure, for example, the ship is considered still in port. So I feel like you are trying to like follow up with what I mean by data cleaning. The real reason why you should clean your data before you build your dashboard, because your arrival and your departure of the vessel is going to be affected if you don't clean that. And for example, if you don't have a departure time, it means your vessel is still in port, and that means a lot to your insight or to your analytics. So we have a pivot table congestion logic. We should have the rows, the columns, and also values. So in your rows now, you can set to port code to see performance by location, and the columns set to event to see arrival and departure counts, and values to set to maximum of dates. Okay, so we go to KPIs, which is called key performance indicators, which most companies always do. Like that is the major part of our dashboards, because your KPI will show like the most important part of your insights, because you're able to show your values. It shows exactly what's happening with your port or port operations, or show exactly what's happening with your vessel turnaround and all that. So that is the major part, KPI, key performance indicators. And we have operational importance, which is PTT, is the North Star of efficiency. And every hour saved in port is an hour earned at sea. We know that. Or fuel saved through slower sailing speeds. For example, like the container fleet is used 18.2 hours, bulk fleet 72.5 hours, tanker fleet 44.1 hours. And every hour saved in port is an hour earned at sea. That's a port turnaround time. We have the fuel intensity about and vessel utilization. We can calculate total fuel by total distance. And for vessel utilization, you can say sea days divided by 365 multiplied by 100 to give us a percentage. For fuel intensity, identification of gas guzzlers in the fleet requires oil cleaning and engine maintenance, which will help the fuel intensity. I won't do that. And this is about visualizing strategic trends. We'll be using Slicer. Slicer is like an arrow to be able to pick, for example, for dates. Okay, I think I'm not able to explain that without showing you. Slicer is basically like ability to be able to scroll down or to pick dates, or to you have a lot of vessels and you are trying to show an insight for a particular vessel. So when you have your insight built, you can either do drop down or vertical analysis for that. So we'll be seeing that physically. We'll be seeing that practically. Then we have our spark lines, miniature trend for fuel consumption inside a single cell. And we also have heat maps. All these are going to be very useful for us in visualizing our trends for our analytics. So that's about the PowerPoint. So now we're supposed to go directly into the main thing, which is utilizing our data, using our data to make some cleaning on data analysis. I don't know if you have any question before we move on from here. Hello, confirm you can hear me.
Yes, we can.
Okay, so do we have any question? Okay, I think there's no question. So we'll be, and I want us to confirm that we have our data, because when we start the practical, we have to upload the data into the Excel. to work on it. Where's the Zoom class?
There's a question in the chat box. Mashraf.
Okay.
Ahmed is asking, gas guzzlers, can you clarify? Can you clarify it?
Oh, okay. Sorry, I didn't see that. Okay. Gas guzzlers. When we mean gas guzzlers, like it's for significant fuel consumption. Like when ships are burning like millions of tons of fuels, like we know that our ships burn a lot of fuels every day. So it includes container ships, oil tankers, fish trawlers, or tugboats. They all emit no, they all burn fuel every day, right? So this amount of fuel that is being burned, like, is equivalent to the fuel burned by
No problem.
467 million
Now I come
cars.
to yeah.
Hello.
I've muted him. Sorry.
Okay. So, like, I would say the environmental impacts of shipping is substantial because the amount of fuel that all these vessels burn is equivalent to the fuel burned by 467 million cars. That's for one day. Like the fuel burned by the vessels in maritime is, in just one day, is like 467 million cars. The fuel burned by 467 million cars in the same period. And that is just using that word, that gas guzzler, to say how much emissions or how much carbon emissions that is happening in the maritime world. So just like I'll say, like, it's just like a slangy word that is being used, that there is a gas guzzlers. I don't know if you get me or you need me to explain on that more.
Yeah, I got it. Thanks.
Okay. So you have it in mind that maritime vessels burn a lot of fuel. One day is equal to 467 millions of cars in 1 year. Okay, so sorry about Peculiar. You will be taking over from here, and you'll be taking the data and the cleaning of data. Mr. Toby, confirm you can hear that, and Toby, what's his name? Peculiar will be taking over from here while he was sharing his screen right now.
Pekila is not on the call at the moment. I think we should take some 5 minutes recess. Just trying to set
Okay.
up here. Yeah. Apologies, everyone.
So this is 41 minutes into the class. Okay. So let's take a 5 minutes break, then get your data ready and your Excel ready. Thank you.
Good day, everyone. Hello, everyone. So, my colleague has taken the introduction to this class. So, right now, we are just going to jump right into the practical. I hope you can all hear me. So, I sent a folder to the group that contains our data description and what we are to achieve with the data alongside the data set itself. Right. So, I'm going to open up that project description now. Right. So this is the project description. And then the title says Horizon Ops, Predictive Maritime Traffic and Port Efficiency Analytics. So this is our problem statement here, right? This is our business problem. And these are the issues that we are trying to solve. So we are going to use the data set we have right now to try and solve all these issues. So I'm just going to go through it so that we are going to understand what it is we are trying to achieve. And I'm sure that or let me say, I think that we've gone through this, right? So I'm just going to read through. Global seaports are under increasing pressure as maritime trade continues to grow. Many people are experiencing severe vessel congestion, causing delays, financial losses, and environmental impacts. So our problem here is basically vessel congestion, right? So a major international port authority has hired your data analytics team. So the scenario here is that you work with a data analytics team, or you are part of a data analytics team, or you head the data analytics team. So what you're trying to do as a member of this team or as part of this team is to investigate the problem, right? So I would always say data analysis is basically playing detective with data, right? So you are investigating the problem. So the ports already collects automatic identification system data. I'm sure we all know what AIS data is, which tracks our vessel movements. However, the data set contains significant errors and inconsistencies, making it unreliable for operational decision making. So one thing you should always have at the back of your mind is that whenever you are collecting your data, regardless of the source, data is never going to come clean, right? It's never going to come clean. So that is why the next step after collecting your data is to clean the data. It is only after you've cleaned your data that is where you can be sure that whatever analysis you are going to be performing is going to be accurate and can lead to making the right decision. So now your task is to clean, analyze, and transform these AIS data sets into operational insights that port managers can use to reduce congestion and improve efficiency. So now this is our business problem. The port is experiencing record high congestion. Ships arriving at the port must wait at the anchorage zone until a berth becomes available. So these are the three major issues we are facing from this high congestion, right? Increased operational costs. So because the vessel is idle, right? So every hour that the vessel is idle, there is a penalty, right? The company is going to pay a demurrage fee. So there's also environmental impacts, which means our ship is burning fuel and then is causing the increase of CO2 emissions and pollution. So also, even on the supply chain end, our cargo deliveries are delayed and then is affecting our warehouses, logistic companies, and other retailers. So now, your first step here with this data, you've gotten the data already. This is the data, right? So your first step here right now is to clean and validate the AI's data. So one of the best tools for cleaning data is Excel, because Excel has so many functionalities, Excel has so many functions, it has so many features that makes the process of cleaning data easy. So there are different ways you can go about cleaning data in Excel. So, but then the first thing we always want to do when we get our data is to try and make sense of the data. You already know that this is operational data. But so what I want us to do now is to look at this data and see if we can make some sort of story from this data, if you can tell the story behind this data. So now, for those of us that are not familiar with Excel, I'm going to try and walk us through the interface we have here. So I'm just going to click on this button down here, and then a new sheet will open. So you might be wondering, what are all these boxes? What is all of this? What are all of this? So I'm just going to go through everything as quickly as possible. So this home that I have here is something called a ribbon, right? So my ribbon carries the functionality for my Excel software. So in this home ribbon, I have different tabs, right? So in this home ribbon, I have a clipboard tab, I have a font tab, I have an alignment tab, I have a number tab, I have a size tab, I have a sales tab, I have an editing tab, I have an analyze data tab, right? So I also have another tab here called insert, right? So inside this my insert tab, I have this my pivot. Inside this my insert ribbon. Sorry, I meant ribbon. Inside this my insert ribbon, I have a table tab. So this pivot table is very, very important when it comes to analyzing data, right? I also have an add-in tab. I have a chart tab, which is very, very much important when you're analyzing, because you always want to present your findings as a chart, as a visual, right? I also have another tab that says spark lines. I have filters, I have links, I have comments, and that's it. So all these tabs have different functions, right? But then for the purpose of this course, the tabs that we are going to be mostly working with is home, insert. The ribbon we are going to be mostly working with is home, insert, and data. So these are called ribbons. This is my home, insert, draw, page layout, formulas, data. They are called ribbons, right? So each of these ribbons have a tab. So for my home tab, clipboard, font, alignment, right? For my insert, tables, add-ins, charts. I hope you get that. So that's basically what you are seeing here. Everything you are seeing here now, different ribbons with different tabs. So I also have this ribbon here called file, right? So with this file ribbon now, you can see from here, I can locate the home of my Excel, right? I can locate whatever workbook I've opened of recent, right? I can open workbook that are pinned, right? I can open a blank workbook from this home ribbon, right? I can open some already pre-made Excel workbook, right? So I can open something that's already existing. And then with this info, I can actually protect my workbook as a whole. So if I come to info here, right, you see the option to protect my workbook is here. So to protect my workbook, I'll just click on this. So there are different ways I can protect my workbook. I can set my workbook to always open read only, which means if this workbook is set as always open read only, and then I send it to someone, the person would have to enable editing before the person can make changes to the workbook. It's just going to be read only. There is also encrypt with password, right? So with this encrypt with password, you are like putting a password on this workbook. Say you've done your analysis, you've analyzed your AIS data, you've gotten your insights, and then you are part of the data team. Maybe your own job is to clean the data. There's someone else that is going to visualize the data. After you've cleaned the data and you want to maybe send the workbook to the person that is meant to visualize it, right? You can encrypt with password so that whenever the person wants to open the workbook, he or she is going to need a password to open that workbook. So you can also protect your current sheet. That means the sheet you are working on now, right? You can protect the sheet you are working on now so that no changes can be made to that particular sheet. So you can protect your workbook structure. When you protect the workbook structure, you're just saying, oh, you only want to allow one sheet. You don't want anybody else to be able to add more sheets to your workbook, right? So you can save as whatever you want to save it as, maybe as a PDF, as a CSV file, and you can go ahead to print, right? So under this account here is where you see the version of your Excel. If you come to this account here, right? So you can see the product information. You can see your product information. So I'm using Microsoft 365. If you are using Office 2021, you're going to be able to see it here, 2019, whatever it is. So that is that for our file ribbon. So our file ribbon is basically just for working with our workbook, protecting our workbook. So now I'm sure you understand what ribbons mean, right? So each of our ribbons carry a tab, right? So now we want to talk about this interface we can see here. So you see these letters, this A here, right, is called a column. A is a column, B is a column, C is a column, D is a column, E is a column. All these letters represent columns, right? And this your 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 represent our rows. You get, so these are our columns, these are our rows. You get? So an intersection of a column and a row will make up something we call a cell. You get? The intersection of a column and a row will make up something we call a cell. So this is a cell now. So each of our cells have a name, right? And we can only see that name in our name box. Since our cell is made up of the intersection of our column and row, so that means the name of our cell is going to be the combination of the column and the row. So I'm selecting this cell now. The name of this cell is A1. The reason why it is A1 is because it is on the column 1 and it is on the row 1. You get? So if I select this cell here, A2, right? The reason why it is A2 is because it is on the column A and it's on the row 2. If I select this, you can see that it is on the column C and on the row 3. So this understanding these cell names is very, very important when it comes to doing your formulas, right? Maybe you want to multiply a column, you want to multiply two columns, or you want to divide them. So it is very important to understand these cell names, right? So this here is called a formula bar. So a formula bar is basically the bar that carries whatever function you have, right? So let me just show you this quick example. I have 1 in my A1 cell, right? And I also have 2 in my B2 cell. So look at these two values now. You can see them in my formula bar. If I decide to add these two values together, right, I'm going to be able to see the formula here, right? So remember that these values are inside a cell, and each of these cells are they both have a name. This is my A1 cell, this is my B2 cell. So if I want to add these two values together, I'm going to put in an equal to, right? Then I'll select this, right? Then I'm going to do my addition. So that's my addition sign. So the cell that I'm selecting now is A1. A1 is the cell that has my value. You can see the formula here, right? Then I'll select the second value I want to add, right? You see that? So I'm starting with an equal to sign, right? Then I'll press enter. So you can see the total output here is 2. So this is just showing that whatever formula you write, you can always see it inside this formula bar. So this whole interface, these columns and rows, they are called a sheet. They are called a spreadsheet, right? So your spreadsheet as a whole is called a workbook, right? So you can have multiple spreadsheets inside the workbook, right? So you can see that I have AIS data, the data I want to work with in one sheet here, right? So I also have um another this thing here. I also created another sheet here, right? Sheet 1. So I can always rename my sheet, right? You can see where I'm navigating through my sheet. If I click on this, click on this. So if I want to rename my sheet, I'll just double click on this, right? Then let me call it introduction introduction, and I'll press enter. So the name of my sheet has changed. If I want to add another sheet, that is the essence of this plus button. So I'll click on this plus button and automatically another sheet will be added. I hope you're all together. Let me I hope you're all together. Okay. So now I can decide, like I was saying, I can decide to protect my sheet. I showed you how to the option to protect your sheet from file, right? You can also protect your sheet directly here, right? So all you have to do is just to right click here, right? So after you right click on the name of your sheet, you see this option to protect your sheet, right? You can just click on it, right? And then you put in a password. So I'm going to put in a password now. Okay. Then I'll click OK, right? So that sheet is protected, right? I have to enter the password to proceed. So right now I can't type anything inside the sheet because it is protected. You can see this, right? The cell or chart you're trying to change is on a protected sheet, right? So I would have to unprotect my sheet. So how do I unprotect my sheet? The same way I protected it. I'll right click on this. I'll right click on this. I'm going to click on unprotect sheet, right? So I'm going to select my unprotect sheet and then I'll type in my password. Then my sheet will be unprotected. I hope we are together. So I'm just basically trying to get us familiar with the interface of Excel before we move further, because it is very, very important that you understand how to navigate Excel. So let's come back to our AIS data now. So if you look at this, right, it looks as if my sheets are dragging into each other. It looks as if my columns are dragging into each other, right? Look at this, my MMSI column now. You can see that it's like the values are dragging into each other. Same with this unknown, same with this pitching, and same with this port tender, right? You can see that it's like they are pouring. This column is covering some values here, and this column is covering some values here. So what I'm going to do, what I need to do is to straighten out my sheet. So if I want to straighten out my sheet, it is very straightforward, right? There's this small triangle here beside my A column above my one row, right? All I have to do is to click that triangle. If I click on the triangle, my whole sheet will be highlighted. So once this sheet is highlighted, I can now stretch it out. So how do I stretch it out? All I have to do is to double click on any of the lines in between my A and B. You get? So this line here, if I double click on it, so you see that it has straightened out the sheet. So now we can see our MMSI clearly. We can see our navigational status clearly. We can see our SOG clearly. We can see this clearly also. We can see everything clearly, right? So now I want us to make sense of this data. So I want us to work together on this because as to my knowledge, right, yeah, most of us here are maritime professionals, right? So I want us to work together on this. I want you to just type in the chat what a sort of story you can make from this data. So like this is like a ship, right? Let's just say this is a ship, and this is the navigational status of the ship, the number, the speed over ground, the course over ground, the heading, the ship type, the width, the length, the drought. So I want you to drop something like a line. I don't just want the words and the numbers. You know what you are seeing are just words and numbers. But I want someone to make like a sentence based on this data that we have now. So I'm going to see if there's anybody that can do that. Just make a sentence. Anyone? Anyone? Okay, so no one. So basically, Sha, this data is covering ship, right? It's covering the ships, the ship information, and wherever it is they are heading to, their navigation status, right? So if you look at it now, this is my ship, this is my MMSI, this is my identification for my ship, this is the type of ship, right? Is it a fishing ship? Is it a port tender? Is it the cargo? Whatever that is, right? So this is the width of the ship, right? So this is the length of the ship, right? So these are basically this MMSI, this ship type, this width, this length. They are basically informations about the ship, right? And then this navigational status, SOG, speed over ground, COG, course over ground, heading, drought are basically navigation information about the ship, about the various ships you have here. So now, the first thing I want us to do is I want us to group this into two now. I want us to bring our ship information here and then leave our navigation information here. So how are we going to do that? I'm going to copy this, my ship type, my width, my length, and then just come and paste it beside my MMSI, right? So how will I do that? I'm going to right click on G, that's my ship type, right? And I'm going to click cut. So once I click cut, I'm just going to right click on C here, right? And I'll click insert cut cells. So you can see my ship type here. So I have my ship, I have the ship type. You get what I'm trying to achieve? So I'm going to come to this my width here, right? I'm going to right click on this width. I'm going to cut it, right? Then I'm going to bring it over here. I'm going to right click on D because I want it after my ship type, and I'll click insert cut cells, right? So I can see my ship, the ship type, the width of the ship, right? So next thing I want to know is the length of the ship. The next thing I want to bring in is the length of the ship, right? So I'm going to select this. I'm going to right click on it. Then I'll click cut, right? Then I'm going to come to this my E, right click on it, and then click insert cut cells, right? So I have my ship type, the width of the ship, the length of the ship, then the navigational information here, right? So before we go further, the next thing you want to do before making any major changes to your data is basically you want to duplicate it, right? You want to keep the original copy here and then work with the copy you've duplicated. So to duplicate your sheet is straightforward. All you have to do is you come to this your sheet name here, right? So you right click and then you click on this move or copy, right? So you select this move or copy, you select your move or copy, and then you have the option to create a copy here, right? So you tick this create a copy and then you click OK. Again. So the moment you do that, automatically your sheet becomes duplicated. You can see that everything that we are going to be doing now is a duplicated version of the sheet. So look at my look at my original sheet here, AIS data. Look at the duplicated sheet now. I hope we are all following. So now the next thing I want to do is I want to make sure that this column has some sort of meaning. This is my A column here because it's just looking, look at how it looks like 0, 1, 4. It's not really making sense. You get. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to call this column serial number, right? So I'm going to call it serial number. So I'm going to come inside this empty cell and I'll write serial number, right? So what I want to do now is I want to change this first value here to 1, right? I want to change it to 1. So I'm going to erase this. I'll double click inside this. I'm going to erase this, right? I'll erase this. I'll press 1. Come to this my next cell. I'll press 2. Sorry, please. Come here. Type in serial number, right? Then come in here. Type in 1, right? Then come in here. Type in 2. Then come in here. Type in 3. So what I'm going to do now is I'm now going to populate these values, right? So I'm going to populate these values. To populate these values is straightforward, right? So I already have my 1 here, I have my 2 here, I have my 3 here. So I want the rest of the values to be 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, like that. So all I have to do is that since I already have 1, 2, 3, I'm going to highlight my 1, 2, 3, right? And then this small box sign here, right? I'm going to double click on it. So once I double click on it, automatically my sheet has been populated. So now we've done that. So another thing we want to now do, the next thing to do now is to now know the total number of records we have, right? So basically what we're trying to do is we are still just trying to understand our data, to structure our data, right? So I'm just going to come inside this cell here, right? And I write total number of records, right? So total number of records. So in Excel, right, we have something called functions, right? So we are going to talk about functions more tomorrow. We are going to practice functions because these functions are very useful when you want to quickly inspect your data, when you want to clean your data, right? So I want to find the total number of records, which means I want to count the number of records I have here. But I can't just scroll like this now and be counting. I mean, it's a lot. So there's a function for that. So that function is called count. You get. So that function is called count. So this is how a function works. Whenever you want to type in a function in Excel, right, you start with an equal to. So whenever you put in an equal to, Excel recognizes that, oh, what you want to do is a function or a formula, right? So in this case, it's a function because we want to count the total number of records. So we do equals to, then we are going to do count, right? Count. So what are we going to count? We are going to count this MMSI, right? So I'm going to count this MMSI, right? So after I've done that, after I've done my equal to count, so look, I want you to see that as it come out like this, as I have the option here, I don't continue typing, I select it, I double click on it. So automatically, a function comes with a bracket. So inside that bracket, you pass in an argument. What you pass into that bracket is something called an argument. So an argument is basically the column or whatever it is, or the range of values you want to perform your function on, right? So this is a range here, this is a range, this is a range, this is a range, this is a range. You get? So we want to count this MMSI now to give us the total number of records, right? So all I have to do is I'm going to select this, right? I'm going to select this my cell here, B2, the first value under MMSI. Then I'm going to do Control Shift. I'll hold down my Control Shift, and then I have this my page down button, right? I have this my page down button. So this my page down button has an arrow sign that is pointing downwards. So it is the last button on my system, second to the last button on my system. I have page up, page down, home, and end. You get? So the page down is to highlight the values downward. You get? So if I click on it, all the values downward are going to be highlighted, right? So those are all the values I want to count. You get? So then all I have to do is I'll come back to this my formula bar here, right? Because remember I said at the beginning of the class that any formula or any function we write is always going to appear inside this formula bar, right? So I've selected the first value I want to count, and then I've highlighted downwards to um select all the values I want to count, right? So the next thing I want to do is I want to close my bracket, right? So I'm going to close my bracket and I'll press enter. So you can see the total number of records we have, right? We have what is this? 358,351, sorry, 358,351, right? So now these are the total number of records. So another thing I now want to find out is all these MMSI, are they distinct? Are they all different? Right? So each ship is meant to have its own distinct MMSI, right? So I want to know, okay, what are the total number of ships in this particular data set, right? So that means if an MMSI now, it is possible that it is appearing twice, right? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use two functions. I'm going to use my count and unique, right? So unique is to get the unique values making a column. I'm going to do equals to. So let me show you how unique works, right? So look at this my navigational status now. We know that we have about 358,8351 records, right? So they are different. The values making up this navigational status are not actually a lot, right? They're just about maybe 7, 8, 9, 10, right? So unique will help us get those unique values making up this column, right? So you're going to do equals to unique, right? Unique, and then we select this, Control Shift arrow down, we close our brackets, right? And then we press enter. So these are the values making up this particular column. So we just got the unique values making that column. So now what we now want to do is we now want to count the unique value, the unique ships we have in this data set, right? So what we're now going to do is we're going to do equals to, we say count, right? Then instead of putting in the value or the range you want to count, we'll not type in unique because we want to count the unique, right? So after typing in the unique, we can now actually select the array, the values we want to count, right? So we are going to be closing two brackets. So those are two brackets I'll be closing. Then I'll press enter, right? So see now we have how many records? We have 358,351 records. But then how many of the ships are in this data set? We just have 3,891. So I'm just going to type number of ships. Let me type the number of ships here. Number of ships. Right. So basically we're just trying to understand our data, right? Our total number of records is this, right? Look at the number of ships we have. You get? So now what's the next thing we need to do? So now we now actually want to go into cleaning our data, right? We want to go into cleaning our data. So in the data description that we have, the steps to clean our data is there, right? So you can see AI's data set contains several types of errors. Your first responsibility is to sanitize the data set, right? Students must identify and remove the following errors: ghost ships, invalid or missing MMSI identifiers. So our MMSI should always be a valid 9-digit maritime identifier, right? So our MMSI, this is always going to be 9 characters. So if it is greater than 9 characters, something is wrong. So, but then we have 300,000 plus rows, right? How do we find out that all the characters are 9? That's the challenge. But then not to worry, we have an Excel function that can help us figure that out as soon as possible. You get? So first of all, we want to move all these values we have here now, all this our basic information that we got from this data. We want to move it to another sheet. So I'll move it to this sheet too. Right. I'm going to call this sheet data inspection. Right. Call this sheet data inspection. So this is my total number of records. Right. I'm going to copy this, cut it, Control X to cut my data inspection here, put it here. Right. So total number of records. Then come here also. I don't really need this. I just use it to explain unique. So I'll delete it. Right. Then the number of ships I have. Right. Control X to cut. Come to my data inspection. Right. Control V. So these are the number of ships that I have. Right. So now the next thing I want to do is to confirm that all of these MMS I have on this sheet are all 9. So how do I do that? I'm going to make use of a function in Excel called learn. Learn. So right now I'm going to insert a new column. Right? I will insert a new column. Then I'm going to call this. I'm going to call this MMSI validation. MMSI validation. I straighten out my sheet by double clicking on the line in between C and D. That's why I open this way. So then I'm going to select this cell. Then I'll do equals to. Then I'll say learn. Right? Then I'm going to this is my learn here. So this learn is a function in Excel that is used to count the number of characters in a cell. Right? So in a cell, or the number of the number of characters making up a value in a cell. So if I select this my learn, select it, double click, it comes with a bracket. So all I need to do is just to enter the text I want to count, the cell that has the value I want to count. So I'll just select this my first value in MMSI. Then I'm going to close this bracket and press enter. So I can see that this is 9. So I can populate it. How do I populate it? As I've done this, all I have to do is double click on this small green box here. Right? If I double click on the box, it's going to populate it. Right? So then how do I now even scroll through 300,000 rows of data to ensure that all of them are 9? So the good thing with Excel is I don't have to scroll. Right? There's something called filter under my data ribbon. Right? So if I come to my data ribbon, right, you can see the filter button here. So this is called filter. Right? Sort and filter. So all I have to do is just to select an header. So this is an header here. This is an header, my column header. This is a column header, a column header, a column header. So I can select on any of the column headers and click on this filter button. Right? The moment I click on this filter button, you are going to see a small button appear beside all these headers. So with these buttons now, I can actually now filter out my data. I can filter out the values in each columns of my data, right? So we want to check all those values that are not 9, that all those MMSI values that are not 9. That's what we want to check. So this filter button here, we are going to click this filter button, right? So what do we have here? We can see that some values are 7, we can see some values are 8, we can see some values are 9, right? So we are going to untick this select all, right? We can just click untick this select all. So this is one way to go about it. And then I'll tick my 7, right? I want to show these values that are 7, right? Let me click OK. So look at all these values that are 7. So now there's something about this data, right? As you can see that the ship type is called what? It's called pleasure. Is there actually a ship type that is pleasure? Please, I'm going to need your response on this. Is there actually a ship type that is pleasure? Please, I need your answer in the chat. I'm going to check now. Is there any ship type that is pleasure? Okay, someone is Abolani said no. Shao said yes, there is. Mm. But then let's still continue looking at the data, right? So look at the navigational status, right? There's no look at the navigational status. The navigational status is also unknown, right? So look at the speed over ground also. The speed over ground is what 0.1. So when a ship speed over ground is 0.1, what's that telling us? Please, I need your response. When a ship speed over ground is 0.1, what is it telling us? What's it telling us? So when it shifts SOG, yes, yes, it's in knots. It's measured in knots. Yes, yes, yes. So what's it telling us? I need your response, please. Exactly. So it's stationary, right? Yes. So now, do we really? And there's also no drought, right? There's also no drought. So, do we really need this record? Is it going to be useful in our analysis? Remember the problem you're trying to solve. What problem are you trying to solve? You're trying to solve the problem of congestion, right? So now look at this record now that have pleasure with invalid ship numbers. Do we need them? So do we need them? So let's also remember that the MMSI is also invalid, right? It's also invalid. So basically, there's nothing we can use them to do because we are not even sure that the ship actually exists if the MMSI is not correct. How did I make the total number? Okay, how did I count the total number of records? That's what you mean. That's what you mean. So I use the function called count, right? So I use the function called count. So let me unfilter this. Just going to click select all and do OK. So pleasure, pleasure, Masuf, Ahmed. So I'm going to show you how I counted them again, right? I'm going to show you how I counted them again. So these are my records, right? So I'm going to call in a function. The name of that function is count, right? So I'm going to do equal to, right? So this is where I want my output. That's why I'm selecting this cell. I want my output in this cell. This is why I'm selecting it. So I'm going to do equals to, then I'll say count, right? So the moment I type in my count, you can see that it is bringing it out for me here. All I have to do is just to select it, and it's also bringing out an explanation of what the function does. Count the number of cells in a range that contains number. So I'm going to double click on this, right? Then I'm going to count using this MMSI, right? So I'm going to select this. I'll select the first cell that has the value. Then I'll do Control Shift, then my page down button, right? I'll select my page down button. Then I'm now going to come to this my formula bar. At the beginning of the class, I said that whenever we're writing a formula or a function, you are always going to see it inside this formula bar, right? So I'm going to close this bracket here, right? I'll close this bracket and I'll press enter, right? So this is the value here. So this is the value here. So do you get that, Mr. Yusuf? Mr. Ahmed, sorry. Okay. So let's move on. So back to what we were doing before. So I was asking, so do we need it with invalid MMSI? So left to me, I don't think we need it because the MMSI is invalid, right? And all the ships there are pleasure. So that's telling us something, right? So what we're now going to do is that I'm going to delete all this, right? So how do we delete this? We'll select the first value here, right? We do Control Shift arrow to the side, right? Then arrow down. So Control Shift end rather. So I'll select the first value here, then I'll do Control Shift end. So Control Shift end is going to highlight the first row for me, right? Then I'm now going to do Control Shift page down. So Control Shift page down is going to highlight the rest of the values downwards. Then I can delete them, right? So they are gone, right? Are we together? So then I'm going to come here and I'm going to tick my 8. Right, I'll tick my 8 and I'll click OK. So look at my 8 also. Right, my 8 also. The navigational status is unknown. So are you seeing something that is correlating? All the places where our MMSI is invalid, right? Their navigational status is also unknown. You get? So we are just going to delete this also, right? I'm going to delete this, delete. And then now we can go on to filter our, just select all, then click OK, right? So now we've taken care of our MMSI. So now we don't need this MMSI validation again, right? So we can delete this, right? Click this and delete. So now this is 8:30, right? So I want us to quickly ask questions if we have questions. So let's ask our questions on everything we've been doing so far. If you have questions, please let's ask them. Or if you have contributions, let's make them now for like the next 30 minutes before we continue.
I have a question, quick one, please.
Okay.
Now, maritime data comes in different comes in different forms, you know. So, is it that if they come in a form, then is it that you have to convert them before you can use them into Excel, or that's or is it that you have to enter them to Excel before you can make before they can be useful to you? Because what if in the case
So
that your data is not in Excel or in a different format, you know?
like what format?
I mean, there are a lot of formats that it could be PowerPoint, it could be in email format, it could be, I mean, this what they call it, is it CSV? That's I think there's a format that you guys sent a document. So they could come in different
CSV.
formats. So I don't really know. Is it that you have to convert them first before you can use, or that is just my question?
Yes, yes. Your data must always come structured. If it does not come structured, if it comes from email, if it comes from logs, your job now is to now structure it. You get. So, and what do we mean by structure? Structure means putting it in rows and columns. It is only then you can analyze it. You get. So, I want to know what kind of data do you get
Putting in rows and
in your
columns means
mail?
that you must put it into Excel format. Is that what you mean?
Yes, in a tabular format, not necessarily Excel, right? Not
But
necessarily Excel. There are
tabular format,
also
okay,
other tools for analysis. But regardless
okay,
of the tool for analysis, your data must first of all be structured. You get, which
okay,
means it must be in rows and columns.
okay. So, are there conversion tools for that, or you just have to do that manually?
You have to do that manually. Say you get and
Oh,
you get the data or some sort of information from your email now. So you are the one that is going to look at the data and look at the way you can fit it to be in a structured format, to be in rows and columns. So, say for
yeah.
instance, now I'm just going to give this instance. You are a PA, right? You are a PA for maybe like your boss, right? And your boss always sends you mail, tells you that, oh, I have a meeting by this time, by this so time. I have a meeting by this time. So you are the one that's going to look at the important details in that email, right? So the important detail in the email can be the time of the meeting, the date of the meeting, how long the meeting is meant to last. You get. So then you structure it. You get.
Yes, okay.
Yeah. So that's just basically to take out the most important content of the information and then you structure it to fit it into a tabular format into your spreadsheet.
Yeah.
Okay, Lou.
That's fine. Thank you.
Hello. Yeah.
Yeah, please, can you come back to the formula for the count and unique?
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
So I'm going to run through this count and unit again. actually what I'm trying to do today is just trying to show you guys what working with Excel looks like. So tomorrow I'm going to actually be breaking down the functions down, right? So that we are going to follow and understand how all these functions work. So I'm going to run through counts again, right? So I have all these records there, right? I have there are a lot, right? So I can't begin to count them manually. So that's why I use my count function. So to type a function in Excel, I'm always going to start with equal to, right? So when I type in my equal to, Excel recognizes that what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to count, right? I mean I'm trying to put in a formula or a function. So if I type in my function count, right, the option is going to come out here. I have to double click it so that this bracket will appear. So inside this bracket, I'm going to pass something in that we call an argument, right? So these are my arguments here: value one, value two. Basically, the values I want to add, the values I want to count rather. So this is the column that contains the value I want to count, which is this MMSI column, right? So at the beginning of the at the beginning of the class, I spoke about our cell names. So when I select this cell, what you will see here, right, is the name of the cell, which is this B2, B2, B column, and our two row. That's why you're seeing B2 here, right? So then you don't just want to count this column. You don't just want to count this cell. You want to count all the values in this cell. You get? So you're now going to hold your control and shift, right? So you hold your control and shift, and then you have this page down arrow. So this your page down arrow is below your shift on the right side of your laptop, right? On the right side of your laptop, you have about four buttons there. One is page up, one is up, one is page down, one is end. So because you want to highlight downwards, that's why you are using page down. If you want to highlight to the side, you use end. But because you want to highlight downwards, you are going to press page down, right? So page down will automatically highlight all the values you have. The page down is going to highlight the values you have. Are we together? And then I also mentioned that any formula we type, any function we type, you would always see them in this our formula bar here. You get? So that is why you are seeing this here. So B2 is the first cell I selected. So I have up to 358, all this number of rows. I have them here. So that's why you are seeing B followed by the number of row I'm stopping at, followed by the number of cell I'm stopping at, which is this 358, 352. So all I have to do now is just to close the bracket. Right? Close the bracket and then press enter. Get. So this is the count of my cell, of my shift. Right. So that's how my count works. Do you get? So I'm going to say number of records. So now unique. Let me say count. Let me call this count. Make this big. Let's count. So unique is now to find the unique values making up my column. Sorry, please. So unique is to find the unique values making up a column. And I use this navigational status as an example, right? I have 358,000 plus rows, right? So, and the values in my navigational status they're not really much. They are shared among the 358,000 records I have, right? So what I'll do is I'm going to do equal to, then I'm going to use unique, right? I'm going to use unique. I'll use my unique, and then I'm going to select the value I want to get, the column I want to get the unique values from, which is this my navigational status, right? So I'm going to select the first value there. I'm also going to use my control shift arrow down or my control shift page down. So my control shift page down is going to highlight all the values downwards. So because of the blanks I have in between, as a result of the values I deleted, that their MMSI were invalid. That's why I'm having all these breaks. Whenever I have a blank cell, right? So my control shift page down will always break in between. But all I have to do is just to keep pressing the page down and then to highlight it. So this is my unique values. This is the value I'm trying to find. This is the range of values or the array of values I want to find the unique. The whole values in this F column, right? So it has highlighted them up for me. So I can close my brackets and press enter, right? So these are the unique values making up the navigational status of my ships, right? So unknown value, a mud ship, at anchor ships, underway using ocean, constrained by a drought, underway sailing. So these are the unique values making up this navigational status column, right? So they're just about 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, right? 14 shared among 358,000 plus rows. You get. So now what I'm not trying to do is to count the number of ships, right? So I have 300,000 plus records. So, but then I'm sure some of the ships are they were entered multiple times, right? So to count that, I'm going to have to make use of my count and my unit, right? So I'm going to do equals to. I'm going to say I want to count, right? And once I select my count, I'm not just going to select the values I want to count. I'm going to select unique, right? Unique, and then the array. So my array is basically this my MMSI here, right? So I'll select the first value, control shift, arrow down, keep pressing my arrow down until it gets to the last value, right? So that means all the values in my MMSI are all selected. Select and close my brackets and press enter. Uh, okay, I'm meant to have two brackets, one for my count and one for my unit. I'm meant to close two brackets, one for my count and one for my unit. So I'm going to close this and press enter. Right. So this is it. So these are the number of ships I have. Do you get now? Okay. No worry. If as time goes on, Kashinga, as time goes on, we are going to answer this question. So now I I hope all questions pertaining to everything we've done so far has been answered. I hope all questions pertaining to what we've done so far has been answered. All right, so let's move on. So right now we've taken care of our invalid MMSI identifiers. So the next thing we want to do is we want to find out shifts with impossible speed, right? Shift with impossible speed. So basically, if it is greater than 60 knots, they are saying it's a sensor glitch. So they want them removed, right? So if it is greater than 60 knots, it's a sensor glitch. So let's check out those that are greater than 60 knots, right? So how do we do that? We already have our filter button here, right? So we click on this our filter button, and then we come down here to select. We come to this so we want to tick anything greater than 60. Or we are going to do it. We are going to use a function called if, right? So we're going to use a function called if to flag whatever shift, whatever shifts SOG that is greater than 60, right? So I'm going to click OK. Then I'm going to insert a new column, right? So I'll insert a new column. Then I'll call it SOG validation. SOG validation, right? And I'm going to do equals to, and I'm going to say if. So my if is a conditional function, right? So I'm saying if my SOG, if my SOG is greater than 60, right? I want invalid. If not, I want it to be valid. So once I select my if, you can see the arguments I have. Logical test, value if true, value if false, right? So my logical test is this my SOG column. I'll select the first value here, right? Then I'll see if it is greater than 60, right? So what do I want? I want comma, I want invalid, right? So you can see this is my logical test here. This is my value if true, right? Then my value if false, right? So it's going to be valid, valid, and close the bracket and press enter, right? So let's populate, right? So now we populated this, right? So what we now have to do is to check all those columns that are invalid, right? So we're going to right click on this, pick our invalid, pick our invalid, then click OK. So now I want to ask, what does underway using engine means? Please, I need someone to answer. What does underway using engine means? Because you can see that almost all our invalid SOG, they all have underway using engine. So who can answer that question, please? What does it mean? What does it mean? What does it mean?
This means basically the vessel is moving or using engine right now.
It's using what? Engine what?
The vessel is keep moving. Underway engine means.
Okay. Okay, so is the SOG, is it valid? Is the SOG valid? Please, I need a response. Is this something we should keep in our data set, or is this something we should remove? I need a response, please. So is this something we should keep in our data set, or is this something we should remove? Right? You can see the shift type to S star. So I need a response. I need our response. Is this something we should keep, or is this something we should remove?
I think we should keep it.
We should keep it. Okay. So we're going to keep it. We're going to keep all these invalid SOGs. So, but then hope they are not going to affect our findings later, since they said any SOG that is greater than 60 is invalid. So let's select all. Okay. So we also have something else, right? They said we have drought greater than vessel length. We have drought greater than vessel length. So that means they're saying our drought can be greater than the vessel length. It indicates a manual entry mistakes, right? So let's see what we can do about that. So we're also going to use our if functions to check, right? We're going to use our if function to check where the drought is greater than the vessel, right? So we're going to make use of our if for that, right? So we'll come here. Let me start a new column and start. Going to come down here and say drought slash length validity. I'm going to do if, let's see, equals to if our drought, so this is our drought here, is greater than our length. This is our length here. So what is it? If our drought is greater than our length, it is what? Invalid. Okay. Valid. Press enter. So now let's count the number of records where our drought is greater than our length, right? So let's say number of records where drought is greater than length, right? So I'm going to do equals to, I'm going to use another function called count if. So you are still going to talk about functions fully tomorrow. So just count if. So I'm going to select my count if. So what do I want to count? I'm counting based on a condition now. I don't just want to count all the values in this column. I just want to count for invalid invalid drought or invalid length when the drought is greater than the length. So I'm going to say count if. So this is my range here. This is my range. All this, but this particular column. So I'm going to highlight downwards, right? Comma. And there was my criteria. My criteria is invalid. So let me check. Do I have invalid anywhere here? So I'm just going to type it in. Okay. Invalid. Press enter. So 2,406. So the errors are not really much. So I mean, it's something we can keep. It's something we can keep. We don't need to make any changes, right? So let's leave this. So let's also count for this. We didn't count the number of SOG also that is greater than 16 knots. So let's also count that already. Let's count that also. Number of records where SOG is greater than 16 knots, right? So I'm going to do equals to, I'm going to use my count if also. I'll say I want to count if, right? So what's my range? My range is this, my SOG validation, right? I'm going to select this, right? And I'm going to come here to my formula bar, comma, then the criteria is what? Invalid. Select invalid. Close my bracket and press enter. Okay. So number of records where SOG is greater than 15 knots. So now let's bear it in mind that the number of ships we have, this is the number of ships we have, right? So 3,891. So the number of records where our drought is greater than length, 2,046. Number of records where SOG is greater than 16 knots. So All of these are what you use to like ensure the quality of your data, because we are told that these were errors, right? If the SOG is greater than 60 knots, these were errors. So we know that when it came to the SOG, when it came to the knot, these are the number of errors we have. When it came to the drought length, these are the number of errors we had, right? So now what's the next thing? The next thing is now the analysis, right? The main analysis. But then this our data is not yet totally clean, right? Why did I say it's not yet totally clean? Because we still have blanks there, right? We have blanks, we have heading, we have drought. We see all these blanks here. So what do we do about blanks? Do we delete the blanks or do we leave them? In an analysis, a blank is not valid. Our blanks are not valid. If we have blank values, especially when the numeric values are blank, like this one now that we have the SOG, the SOG is 0, the COG 0, the heading is also 0, the drought is 0. So basically, it's useless. So the best thing to do is just going to be to take out all these blanks. So how do we take out all these blanks? So to take out my blanks, I'm going to highlight the whole of my sheet, right? Highlight the whole of my sheet using my Control Shift End and Control Shift page down. So I'm going to highlight the whole of my sheet. And then after highlighting, right, I'm going to come to my home ribbon. Let me bring this to the top of my, I'm going to come to my home ribbon here, right? Then after coming to my home ribbon, I want to come to this find and select here, right? So I'm going to select this my find and select, right? Then I'm now going to go to special, right? I'll select my go to special. And I'm going to click on these blanks, right? Then I'm going to click OK. So if you see here, it is moving because it's going through all the data sets to find the blanks there. So let's just give it some time. It might take some time because data is a lot. 300,000 data is a lot actually. So let's go through this. So yes, that's highlighted the blanks for me. So the next thing I want to do now is I want to delete these blanks, right? So to delete these blanks, I'm not going to select anything because all the blanks are highlighted automatically, right? So I'm just going to come to this my delete here, select my delete, and click delete sheet rows. So yes, let's take some time. Then I'll click OK. So let's start deleting for me. So 300,000 rows of data is a lot for Excel sheet, an Excel sheet. So of course it will take some time. Mm. It takes some time. So another feature of Excel that allows us to create data much more efficiently is something called Power Query. So I'm sure we've heard of Power BI, right? So Microsoft are the creators of Excel. So right, so a shortcoming of Excel is that whenever the data becomes too large, when it gets into about 100,000 rows and all, Excel starts freezing up. So they came up with something called Power Query inside Excel. So Power Query is actually a feature of Excel that can handle million rows of data, right? So, but then because they didn't want to make Excel too congested, they made Power Query like as another software on its own, which is Power BI, and then they added some new features. So Power BI is just like advanced Excel, and that can handle millions of rows of data without any issues like Excel. So which is the reason why eventually in this course, we're also going to be doing Power BI. I think we are using Power BI. Cleaning this data is not going to deleting all these Excel records now. It's not going to be as it's not going to be as lengthy as this. So another way to take about blanks, I'm going to delete it column by column since that's method as well. So I'm going to select on my filter button. So when I select on my filter button, actually I can actually just select my blanks, right? Once I untick this, then I take my blanks, right? Then I click OK. So I have my blank records here. So I can I can just choose to clear all the values that have all these blanks. You can see the width, the length, SOJ. All of these values are not really. So, and someone not get them now. So let's try them. Delete. So they are gone. Oh, because of let me take out all these ones from this sheet. Okay. So so now let's delete this one. So now for our what let's check see the icons. Let's check the ones. So the icons. Let's delete. So okay, together. I think it is category to be moved since they are on that way are not contributing to put congestion for the port. What I say we should remove, we should remove category. Do we have category? So next. So let's check on that. Let's check the box. Okay. Don't we have any plots except for the record. Okay. Here's one photo there. Delete this. So let's come back up here. Hold down Ctrl Shift out side and delete it then okay. So let's call it over. Let's select it all back. And the next our so let's do branch here under this. So, okay. So let's see. So click this Ctrl Shift hold down, hold down, hold down, hold down, hold down, hold down, hold down. Keep pressing Ctrl Shift our page down. So next is okay. Next, let's check out. Okay, so yeah, now it's perfect. This check my box. Okay. Listen, the rules that have blank records. Sorry, rules that have blank columns. Taking them out. That's basically what we are doing. So next is my heading. See where my Excel was on here. Because actually, there's actually lots to be deleted. Hope we're all still together. I hope this deleting is not boring us. 15 of you. So, We'll be rounding up soon.
Hi, Peculiar. This has taken the last 10 minutes. Is there something else you can prioritize and then this one can be done offline?
So, how completing the account? The next thing after the account, the next thing you have to find out now cholesterol ratio, which is you want to calculate the ratio of our shift, you want to know the percentage of things that are waiting, percentage of things that are working. So if it is waiting as anchor, if it is working more than 10. So the formula is basically our shift at anchor divided by our shift mod, right? So what we are now going to do is we are going to use our count if formula to count our shifts at anchor, and then use our counting formula to count our shifts mod, and then divide them. So, what's it called? So those are the last 3, 5, 6, 4, 7, 3, 5, 3, 4, 7. Those are the 5, 3, 5, 3, 4, 7. What to do? It wants to count the count the I'm still in the meeting. I'm still in. Okay, okay. All right. So my range is this navigational status. My navigational status has tell me if my ships are transport or if they are mod, right? So my range is going to be this particular code. So I'm going to say my F2, then colon my F5, 8, 3, 4, 7. So this is going to align my so from this four column. So my criteria is going to be at anchor, right? So I'm going to open a code, right? And just type it at anchor. So this is one option, right? Close my bracket. And I can also choose to select this instead of typing it out there. I can also choose to just select this because I have it saved. So select it. Press enter. So these are the number of ships at anchor, 500. So what about the number of ships more? Going to be equals to my count is also right. So let my count is so my range is basically still the same, which is the F2, right? So I'm going to type the F2 colon my F5 8 3 4 7, right? And I'm going to close my bracket. I'm going to put in my comma, and the next one is going to be my criteria. So my criteria is mode, right? So then to my bracket and press enter. So then my formula to get my congestion ratio is to divide my ship at anchor by my ship mode. So now that I've got the number of my ships at anchor, the number of ships mode, I'm just going to go ahead with the division. So I'm going to do equals to my ship at anchor divided by my ship's mode. Let's get that. So I'll just convert this to percentage, right? So the condition is 20%, right? Which is not really high. So now the next thing we want to check is those costs over ground that they are heading straighter than those costs over ground value that is less the difference between the cost over ground and the heading is more than 10 degrees. So that's what we want to check, right? So let's check. So I'm going to so I'm going to call this column difference between my cost of bond and heading. So go to equals to select this minus my heading. Press enter. Right. You can see some values that are minus. You can see the ones that are greater than 10. And then the difference is greater than 10. So you want to count the percentage of those that's greater than 10. But first of all, let's filter this. Let me see. We're going to see. Let's see the one that are greater than 10.
Hi, Peculiar. Are you here with us at all?
Yes, I'm here. Are you not seeing my screen? Are you seeing my screen?
Uh, guys, I'd like to see in the chat box. Let's run a concession. If you guys feel like we should continue tomorrow. Thumbs up for continuing now and thumbs down for continuing tomorrow. I think cleaning of the data took so much time and a lot of attention has been lost. So it would be great to see in the chat box if you guys think we should continue with your thumbs up. And then if you guys think we should continue, we should stop with our thumbs down.
So I want to say something very important. See, data cleaning, is see you can even do your research when it comes to analyzing data. Data cleaning takes 70%, like 70%. It actually takes time. It's a lot of work because there are a lot of errors that you need to fix, and the data you are dealing with is a very lengthy data, 300,000 plus months. So that's just the reality of it. Reality of it. Analyzing the data is not only an issue. Where the main issue comes is controlling the data. So you have to be patient enough to be able to walk through the steps of cleaning data, because in the end, if you don't take care of whatsoever every data formats, your analysis is not going to be accurate. So that's just it.
Okay, thank you. Do you guys feel like you still have the your mind is still, because I also try to ensure that we get value from the class where everyone's attention span is still I don't know if you all still feel like we should continue or we should take a pause and then probably start earlier tomorrow. You can write in the chat box just so that you're getting the most out of the class. Why Peculiar has shared that data cleaning takes so much time. It would be great if uh, we just want to know from you guys if you guys think we start earlier tomorrow so that the whole time that is required for the data cleaning is still in line with our attention to the class. So if you think we should continue, thumbs up. If you think we should end and continue tomorrow, thumbs down.
Okay. Okay. So let's continue tomorrow. Let's continue tomorrow. So by tomorrow, the data is already going to be clean. The data will be totally clean. So we'll just continue with the analysis tomorrow, and then we'll move on to our Excel function.
Yeah, but the rest of you guys would like not to decide for you. There's always an opportunity. If the rest of you think we can continue now, it means you win the vote. So we have 5 people saying we should continue tomorrow. Do the rest of you think we should continue tomorrow? Everyone is quiet.
I think maybe we should use many 5 to 10 minutes to ask questions. If anyone have any questions for today's class, we will be continuing the same analysis tomorrow. At the meantime, if anybody has any questions regarding the web peculiar stuff, you can use the remaining 5-10 minutes to tackle that, and then we can continue the class tomorrow. But I think it's almost time already, so it's about 2 hours 45 minutes.
Does anyone have any question, please? Something you need clarity on? Any suggestions or whatsoever? All right, thank you. Seems to be that there are no other questions. We will just start earlier tomorrow, probably 30 minutes before the time, and get better at it. Thank you very much, everyone, and have a good evening.
Everyone, please.
Yeah. All right, thank you. Take care, guys.